Let's head now to the Money Desk. Devin Morrigan joining us. Devin, good evening to you. So Sanlam is one of the insurers that was raided recently by the Competition Commission. They're saying they've done nothing wrong, but their results are out today, aren't they?
Yes, indeed. But on that point, remember that we did have a string of insurers coming up over the past week, all saying the same thing. All their practices are ethical. So it's no different with Sanlam. Sanlam saying that it does not expect the Competition Commission's investigation into the country's big life insurers to reveal any unethical practices. The insurer does concede, though, that the probe into possible collusion could bring with it some reputational damage. The group releasing results today showing Sanlam's headline earnings slipped by 8% in the 6 months to June. Its business was under strain from the KwaZulu-Natal floods, increasing claims from the effects of power cuts, as well as inflationary pressures. It also warned of potential price hikes in premiums in the industry. All right, so I want to bring in Sanlam's Chief Financial Officer, Abigail Mukhuba, for more on the results and Sanlam's outlook. Abigail, thanks very much for talking to us. It hasn't been an easy period for insurers, has it, facing mounting claims, as I said, from everything related to floods and power cuts. Inflation also doesn't help. What's behind the group's earnings, which were down for the period?
Good evening, Kevin. It hasn't been an easy period, as you allude to it. However, Sanlam is quite well diversified in terms of our line of business. On the one front, whilst it's been challenging on the general insurance side, we've seen on our life insurance side very good performance. We've seen on all our other lines of business more than double-digit increases. Life investments, credit and structuring. So that diversification during this challenging time assisted the group in its performance for us to reach a 1% increase in our earnings.
Yeah, it's interesting you also mentioned claims from power cuts as well, coming in or sneaking in there as well. Was that a big feature in some of the results that you looked at?
It certainly is, particularly in our Santam general insurance business. We're seeing a spike in house content claims, smaller claims that are mainly affected by damage that occurs when you get the power surges or the interruptions in power. So we've seen a significant increase in that regard. We're also seeing an increase in vehicle thefts, particular vehicles that we're seeing an increase in thefts for. And I think it's also evident of the conditions that we're currently living in terms of the high levels of crime in the country. That's then impacting the bottom line on our general insurance business in South Africa.
When you couple that with the floods, I mean, and the crime, power cuts as well, I mean, it's becoming quite a risky environment. I'm wondering what that does for premiums going forward. Could premiums be going up just industry-wide and particularly with your group?
It will impact premiums because your risk profile changes depending on the type of activities that are increasing the different risks. Therefore, it has an impact on our underwriting processes. Again, it's not necessarily to say that all premiums just increase. We have to look at the specific risks involved. So, for example, you talked about the KZN floods. One of the things that we're now looking at is using technology to look at things like what they call geocoding, where you look at, instead of just looking at the code where people stay in terms of your what one would call your address code or your zip code, we now start to look at things like geocoding to understand exactly the elevation where certain structures are built, as well as the infrastructure. We look at infrastructure maintenance. So where you've got lower maintenance, there's obviously higher risk, and that then impacts on some of the premiums. And most of our products are annual renewal products. Therefore, we look at those things when we get to annual renewals, and then we review the premiums then.
It's difficult to tell clients that they've got to pay more in premiums, especially when they see an industry being investigated for price fixing. You're confident giving results this morning saying that the Competition Commission won't find anything untoward about your price structure. Why is that?
I'm not too sure if we said won't find anything, but I think what we did say is that given the information that we have at this stage, we actually don't have much information. All we have at hand is the search warrant that was issued. Since the investigation, we've been cooperating fully, but there has been minimal interaction with the Competition Commission, and we welcome all engagement that can be done with the Competition Commission in this regard. But given the information that we have on the current search warrant, we don't have detailed information to fully understand what part would lead to price fixing on Sanlam's part, because the information in there is not specific to Sanlam. Therefore, we're still sitting and waiting before we can actually comment on whether this has an impact on us or not.
But you're confident that your practices are ethical?
Of course, we work in an environment where we're dealing with people's life savings. The trust of our clients is a key element for us in terms of our integrity. Sanlam is a 104-year-old organization, and you don't get to be 104 years if you do not have some basic integrity and principles in place. We're very concerned about the impact that this has had on our business and the trust that our clients place on us. We're also concerned at large about the impact it has on the industry in South Africa and how investors, particularly offshore investors, then view the industry in South Africa. But on the same end, we look at it to say, when the Competition Commission approaches us, obviously we will continue to cooperate so that the matter can be resolved as soon as possible.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much indeed. Sanlam's Chief Financial Officer, Abigail Mukhuba. All right.